the reality is that it's got to come from business. The strength of the UK has got to come from business.
It's kind of bouncing from government to government, and they always go against what the last one's done, and there's no long-term, there's certain things that need to be set in stone.
Yeah, and I've been around for a long time. Doesn't look like it.
No, I was going to say, It's going to be, the machine shops have had a tough year. Other machine tool suppliers and manufacturers and cutting tool cut. It's been hard.
I was so proud to walk in there. Irene and her team did an absolute sterling job.
Today's episode is brought to you by MTDCNC, the go-to platform covering the latest stories in the world of manufacturing.
So how's the world in Steve Finn's eyes then? We had the budget. We
Fantastic.
had the budget last week. You think it's going to make a big impact?
Well, no, it's not going to make an impact because, if you're filming this, I'm quite happy for this to go out. We're working with a bunch of liars that can't deliver, and the reality is that it's got to come from business. The strength of the UK has got to come from business.
It's kind of bouncing from government to government, and they always go against what the last one's done, and there's no long-term, there's certain things that need to be set in stone, foundations, aren't there? That have to be, followed by whoever comes in.
Yeah, and a lot of that is done. It's done, a lot of these politicians are basically puppets or muppets, whichever way you want to do it, but they're puppets to the actual principle and the policies that are being done in the back rooms in Whitehall. So whilst you'll get a change of scene from a point of view of how they want to do things, there's still a lot that's being done in the back rooms, and they're the people that probably are more, we want to influence more than the actual politicians. Because today all they're doing is just sending out the messages. But yeah, industrial strategy is really, really important. There's a lot of stuff going on in LinkedIn with people like Andrea at Honall. She does a lot with, promoting the position for minister and all that type of thing. But business has got to run it. We've got to get up and do it, make it happen. And a lot of businesses are very, very resilient, and they can do it. And we shouldn't rely on a government.
No, well, they get to a point, don't they? You said off camera before, when we were sort of in preparation for this, about how business has kind of been waiting for announcements, and now they were nervous before, and maybe they're still nervous now, but eventually it gets to a point where you've got to ignore these to the best of your ability, haven't you? What's happening in the outside, and just crack on with what you believe in as the best way to run a company.
Yeah, and I've been around for a long time. Doesn't look like it.
No, I was going to say,
but no, I've been around a long time, and it's I've seen various governments come and go, various promises from chancellors come and go. Been involved right back to the CFAS grants, where the second CFAS grant was ignored by the government because they said there wasn't enough take-up. But the gap was so small between CFAS 1 and CFAS 2 that people were just like catching their feet up, and the investment level had to come at a later stage, if you like, but they then stopped it after that. Norman Lamont, I think, was one that we were actually directly talking to. Don't worry, there's going to be lots in here for manufacturing. There was never anything in there. Nothing. And the service sector, good on them, has been promoted as what's going to save the UK. Well, it won't. No. We need to make goods. We need to create wealth, and those kinds of things are only done by business. They're not done by politicians.
And you mentioned two industries to me earlier: defence and motorsport. Regardless of what support we get from the government, defence, I guess, is part of that, but motorsport for one, we've done so well in that market, haven't we?
The UK has been fantastic.
Yeah,
I think nearly all the teams, bar Ferrari, are in the UK now. I believe that Sauber are moving a presence into the UK when they come into with Audi. It's Audi, I think, next year. Cadillac, American, set up a major base in the UK. And we, DMG MORI, have been very, very fortunate to work with most of these companies in some shape or form, and supply equipment, which it's all about that dynamic 5-axis urgent, part that needs to be geometrically very, very good. Because as we said before, the microns in the factory mean seconds on the track.
Yeah.
And it is true.
Yeah.
The more accuracy you can supply into it, and the more stability and sustainability you can build into it, the better your performance of that particular component will be.
And that's been good for you this year. Then coming back to business in a sense from a DMG MORI perspective, how has 2025 been for you then?
A sharp intake of breath, but it's been fantastic. It's been unbelievably fantastic. It's been our best year ever. And we've gone through a number of industries like automotive, which is not strong. Aerospace still hasn't come back to the level that it was, certainly in our company, to the level that it was pre-COVID. And yet there's a lot of people fairly busy out there. But defence has absolutely, been the key factor. And I think that we've been very lucky because we've got a very wide portfolio. We can supply very small machines up to very big, large portals, and give customers confidence that we're a company that is capable of delivering and sustaining it for a long term. And some of these projects are running on for 10, 15 years. So we've got to be there the whole time to support that. So it's been a really, really nice year.
Is that a surprise to you?
Yes,
Because
it is.
you hear, there's no secret. People watching this are going to be, the machine shops have had a tough year. Other machine tool suppliers and manufacturers and cutting tool it's been hard.
It's still been hard to maintain what we've done, but some of the other guys have had it even tougher, I think. And 50% of our business is smaller companies, and smaller companies are sitting on their hands because they're waiting for some sign from the government, some sign from God maybe, to actually invest. And I don't blame them, because it's a very risky situation that they find themselves in. But what we've also had to look at is where we can generate business in some of the companies that have got projects on, how we can win that business. And we've worked extremely hard to do that. So whilst the results are great, I'm getting pretty tired towards the end of the year, and looking forward to a nice Christmas break. It's been right across the board. Defence has been a big sector for us, but right across the board. And we've got orders that have suddenly dropped in that we've been working on for a long time. So it doesn't happen overnight.
And is the record year based on the number of units, or is it purely on value? It's all on value.
All on value.
And are you seeing your average order value creep up as well? Then,
yes,
well? Yeah.
Absolutely, particularly with the advent of automation.
And that's point I wanted to discuss, because we were at EMO where we spent some time at the DMG MORI World. And I have to say, there's videos on our YouTube channel that you have to watch if you weren't at EMO and you haven't seen DMG MORI World. Steve, it was kind of eye-watering, mind-blowing, just an incredible logistical operation. Everything that you guys did at that event, I was blown away by. I mean, it was big 2 years ago, but it's even bigger now. And you look at it and you go, I'm not going to say is it worth it, because clearly it was worth it, because you do it year on year. But a lot of the theme there was automation, the AGVs, new software elements, industry 4.0, whatever it might be now. It's all about this kind of digital age, isn't it? In a way.
Yeah, I was so proud to walk in there. Irene and her team did an absolute sterling job in respects of the marketing of that and presenting our product, and the engineers behind it also did an absolutely wonderful job in making sure that they could show the high technology. And the digitization is an important thing, looking at how your machine is working, bringing AI into it. It's something that DMG MORI are very, very strong at. And we've got an R&D budget that is still being maintained. And it's a big, big budget, because we want to bring technology to the customers. The whole process of MX is about reducing the number of machines, bringing more operations into one, having a lesser impact on the environment. So that's your green X as well. So, all of that has to be backed up with high technology.
Is there a danger of that though, of reducing the consumption of your machine sales, because you've got this multi-functional machine with a robot that's now doing what maybe an order you'd have got for 5 machines would have done 3 or 4 years ago. But I guess the economies of scale is, well, if we do it must work as a business, I guess. Otherwise,
Well, if we stand there and said, let's just carry on making this standard machine, and we can always supply 5 of them instead of one of these special machines that does everything, someone's going to catch us up, and we want to be the leaders in technology. So, from a point of view of supplying to the customer, floor space is now a big issue in the UK. Never used to be when I was selling 20, 30 years ago, but it is a big problem now. Finance is not a major problem. Interest rates are reasonably steady. I mean, you and I probably remember they went up to about 17%. But actually, through DMG MORI Finance, we can finance just about everything and anybody. So from a point of view of actually supplying finance, we can do it. And of course, the technology's got to be built in the machine because the skill sets are not there.
Yeah.
So, we still need good people to run machines. We still need, the analogy is that, if you or I sat in the Formula One car, we wouldn't get off the grid. You put a Formula One driver in there and he gets whizzing around. And it's the same with the machine. If you've got a good technician on the machine, someone you've brought through, you've trained up, you've given him lots of advantages to use technology, and the younger generation, they understand technology very easily. You bring that into the workshop, you're suddenly making your machine a lot more efficient with your automation as well.
I thought you were going to say the reason we wouldn't get off the grid is because of our weight. It may well be the case.
We may not even get into the
car. I do a tour at EMO. I generally do them with Cornelius, and I tell you what, you talk about people, the knowledge that he has in his head. We walk around pretty much every technology, and there's not a question. There's not a question I've ever asked him that he hasn't been able to answer. He's just this fountain of knowledge. That's a true feat in itself when you look at the equipment that is there on show and available. One of the things that I was looking at in detail this time was the AGVs. Are you selling those?
We haven't sold any in the UK. We've got 2 very strong inquiries, which I think in the new year will turn into an order. But I think, in Europe they've sold a few, particularly in Germany. It's relatively new. We're making our own AMR now system. Right. So, that's all part of our automation profile. But if you look at it, it's such a simple system because you need simple racking.
Yeah.
It's just a vehicle going around, taking from one thing to another thing, and it's not complex at all.
But it strikes me when I watch it all and look at it, it strikes me as the type of thing you wouldn't want to buy the AGV from one company and the machine from another,
no.
And get the two, because that could then become complicated and just would.
Well, that's the same as anybody's machine putting third-party automation on. Now, whilst we do that, and some of that works really well, and there's some good suppliers out there, our preference is to use our own equipment. 150 odd systems that we have that will fit on just about every single machine. So it is much better from an interface point of view, from a maintenance point of view, from a commercial point of view.
Yeah.
Everything. And there is a single source of responsibility. And we're happy to take that on board.
And this R&D budget, which is colossal, by the way, when you were telling me earlier, what's the mentality behind that? Is it a case of you just got a team of people that are going out and saying, right, okay, how can we do that better? What's the problem you're facing? What's the issue? All right, let's design, make this. Because every time we go to Fronton or to a show, there's always 5, 6 world premieres. So they must be, like Jeff Bezos is like, he's having meetings about what's happening in 3 years' time.
Yeah.
It's similar sort of philosophy.
Well, absolutely. And, we've got to look at, what 5-10 years is like. We've also talked about how we sell in 5 years' time to a different generation. Yeah. There's a lot of market research done. There's a lot of internal work done. I sit on the Global Summit, which was held recently in Fronton over a 2-day period, split into teams. And there are software, there's digitization software, there's hardware, there's auxiliary equipment, and all of these are gone through a very tight team on how to develop it, what is the market for it. And the nice thing is, the reason I sit on it is because I can approach it from a sales perspective, as opposed to a pure R&D engineer who's got some wonderful idea that is brilliant, and it'll put a machine on the moon that actually no one's going to buy it. So we've got to have this balance of how does it work commercially, how does it work technically. But the technical drive is ongoing, and Dr. Mori is very, very keen to maintain that and make sure that we stay as a leader.
There was one feature you mentioned to me about coolants and AI and how can you just explain that one? Because these are things that really, really important and may have a big impact for most or for a lot of machine shops when they're manufacturing.
So we've got some machines in a racing company they're using the INHs, the 5-axis horizontals, very, very, very long cycle times, hours and hours and hours. And of course, swarf builds up, and it's a problem. Swarf and coolant are a problem to machines. If you could do away with swarf and coolant, it'd be fantastic, but you can't. It's part of the product. So we got cameras looking and searching for pockets of swarf, and then it will direct coolant at that swarf to knock it back into the bottom of the machine, which takes it out the back, which allows the customer to continue machining constantly. And there's lots of problems with swarf build-up, not just the contamination, but it can cause flooding in anybody's machine. It doesn't matter how good you are. It can cause heat build-up, particularly if you're machining at very heavy metal removal rates with steel. So you've got to get that swarf away. And then, of course, you could go to the next step and have the guided vehicle come and pick your swarf bin up when that was full and change it so you can carry on machining. So the AI looks at those issues and then keeps the machine running. And there's going to be lots of other opportunities for AI as we.
And what about AI? So that's from a machining point of view when you're actually in the machining process. What about the build up to it, the monitoring, the programming? Is there anything in that area which really
a lot of
look at now and go, wow?
We may use it to help develop with us, but actually what we need is, the biggest thing we do is tech cycles, and we've launched even more tech cycles at EMO. So it makes life easy. So for example, if you want to do gear cutting, which can be a calculation that's quite complex, few parameters, boom, it's worked it all out for you. So kind of artificial intelligence there as well.
And your tech cycles, they are, I guess, being developed all the time, aren't they, for new strategies being tweaked? And the overall principle is to make programming easy, reliable, and fail-safe to a degree. Is there some element of
fail-safe is good, because again we come back to the resources that are out there with skill sets. They are unfortunately reducing, so we've got to try and help the customer. And of course, younger generation are quite easily putting stuff on an iPad, and that's it, it's through. And I watched a podcast the other day about our products, and it was just the customer was saying, I can't believe how easy it is to program this machine. You still need skill sets in there. I'm not taking that away, because you still need people to look after methodology and cutting strategies, although that can be helped with some CAM systems and our systems as well.
And the maintenance side is always an interesting one, because the more you can solve is advantageous to both sides, isn't it? To you here as a service department, but also to the customer. How's that going in the terms of the implementation of? Is it your iService? What's the term that you?
Yeah, we've got first of all, we've got a system called DMG MORI. It's called My DMG MORI, which is a customer portal, which we can, the customer can actually send messages backwards and forwards to us, even from the machine. We can then actually look at the machine through our net service if the customer has connected that up to the internet. Not every customer wants to do that, but we have a system which actually protects it against entering into their systems or any fraud or that kind of thing. So we're pretty fail safe there. But people that actually do that, we can then look at the machine from here in the office or remotely somewhere else. And I had a case about a year ago where one service engineer fixed 3 machines, one in Essex, one in Dorset, and one I think was over in Huddersfield. And he's sitting miles away from all of them, and he's fixed all 3 machines. So that's a very, very effective way. That service is free of charge. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now that's we're encouraging. So it comes back to your scenario. Well, why would you want 1 machine instead when you could sell 5? But we want that 1 machine, and then we've got to look after it. We've got to make sure that the customer feels comfortable, that we can service it. Now it doesn't always work remotely, and that's why we've got a field service base out there. And it may be that the machine's got a bit twisted somehow or another. It's unfortunate with the skill sets again. Then we need engineers to go in and straighten it out.
Are you buoyant about next year then?
Am I
buoyant about next year?
Yes, I am actually, because we've just finished our forecast meeting for December and January. Q1 is always important, so we run calendar year. Q1 is always important. You get Q1 under your belt, you're doing well. You can keep ahead of the schedule, and the reports that are coming in from the sales team are very, very buoyant. So I'm more than optimistic about where we're going with that.
And you're going to have open houses here next year, I believe.
Yes, we're going to do open houses. We're going to probably look at it a bit different way. So this year we did the launch of the NLX 2500 Gen 2. We did that in a very different way.
Yeah, that was I watched that.
Yeah,
That was really good.
we actually sat a whole group of people down. Let's see what this machine can do. So we used it kind of as a stage for the machine, and it was a lot more channeled into what the customer needs rather than let's go and see an open house. So that proved very, very powerful. We had some really good reports. I think your company did a report on it, and a couple of our existing customers said, wow, couldn't feel it machining anything, really solid. And we were doing some heavy interrupted cutting, which is a reality.
And you've got a lot of people here as well. It's hard to get people through the doors these days.
It's difficult to get people out. People can see stuff on your channel, or they can just look on the website. Some people don't want to talk to us, and they just want to make their own minds up. It's all and getting people out is tricky. But we had a really good day, really good turnout. I think better than if we'd actually said, come and see us as an open day.
Yeah, but there was a focus, wasn't there?
There was a strong focus. Strong focus on that product. And the other products were around if you wanted to see them. Yeah. But it was a strong product focus,
What's Steve Finn do for Christmas? Rest up?
I'm going to rest up. I'm fortunately enough to finish on the 20th.
Bit cold.
No, I'll get someone else to do that these days. It's a bit wet and cold.
Decorating?
I'll be doing a bit of golf, but indoors on the TrackMan.
Oh, you got one of those, are you?
I haven't got one. No, it's at the golf club, and you go down there and you can rent a bit of time off it.
In preparation for next year's.
Yes.
Yes,
next year's improvement.
Trip.
Improvement. I'm still a high handicapper, so anyone wants to take me on to play for discount, good job. Very good job.
Well, Steve, have a fabulous break at the end of the year, and look forward to catching up with you for 2026.
Thanks, Paul. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you want to find out more about what's happening in the world of manufacturing and engineering, visit mtdcnc.com.